So first of all, welcome. Welcome back to another great year at UW-Tacoma. Thank you very much to everyone who's here, our faculty, our staff, our community partners. Do we have any students in the room? Not yet. Yeah, oh, that's right, they're taking the W photo, so they will be here soon. For those of you who I have not had a chance to meet yet, good afternoon. My name is Amanda Figueroa. I work in student affairs. I use she, her pronouns.
I am Bonnie Becker. I use she, her pronouns. I work in academic affairs and rounding out our FAB team.
Hi there, I'm Frankie, program coordinator for academic success programs.
So, we have a very full day for you. You're going to do it. This is the signal. All right, we have a very full day for you. Today we're here to launch the student success strategy, which hopefully it's not a murder mystery. You probably have an idea of where we're going with this, but we have some time together to talk about student success, to frame the work, to get a little bit excited about the work. So we've got two national experts who are going to be joining us virtually, one on first generation and the other on transfer student success. Amanda and I are going to briefly introduce the student success strategy, and then less briefly, Dwayne is going to be facilitating a student panel to react to that strategy. And then we're going to have some time in breakout groups working with the various starting teams for the student success strategy for a chance for you to get involved. Next. So we'd like to start, as is our custom, with a land acknowledgement. Up on the screen is the UW-Tacoma land acknowledgement. In the spirit of this event of trying to move from information sharing to action, I'd like to recommend that you check out the land acknowledgement course that is offered through OMAD in Seattle. The course is really cool. It talks about history and treaties. It has a very specific UW focus, so it talks about UW's responsibilities to the tribes, not moral responsibilities, but legal responsibilities to our tribes. There's some shared experiences from UW faculty and staff, including our own Danica Miller, and how they react to land acknowledgements. And one thing I really liked is there's an opportunity for some reflection and to commit to some actions, both big and small, for yourself. So the real theme of it was moving from a statement to a practice. And so this is the beginning of my practice committing to this work.
Of the way, we are now going to have a few remarks from our chancellor, the student success champion extraordinaire, Dr. Sheila Edwards-Lang.
Thank you, and thank you all for the work that you're doing to make sure that our students are successful. And I did a talk last night to chief academic officers from community colleges that were here as part of an alliance, and I talked to them about the why we do this work. And for many of us in the room, I went around and asked people, why do you work at an institution of higher education? And for many of us, it is so personal about our own educational experiences and things that we wished we'd had, or things that happened to us along the way. And so there was a very personal reason for why many of us who work on college campuses do this work. But it's also connected to sort of a professional why for our institutions that's really connected to our mission, vision, and values as institutions for why we do this work. And for UW-Tacoma, it's situated in our place. So our origin story of being founded to serve place-bound students, to serve students in the South Sound who would not otherwise get access to higher education, to being an economic catalyst and for the region and really driving the vitality of this region, and to being in partnership with communities. But for me, my own personal why is because I'm a first-generation college student. And the way that I got to college was very haphazard. The way I got through college was very haphazard. It was only by, as my mother would say, the grace of God that I am standing here before you as a college graduate. And that should not be the way that it is. But unfortunately, I went to college 40 years ago. It's still that way for too many of our first generation students and from students from low resource schools. So when we did our strategic plan, we actually identified student success as one of the priorities. And I want, for those of you who are not from here, I just want you all to know what we said we want to do. We want to increase the recruitment, enrollment, retention, and graduation rates at UWT with a focus on closing equity gaps, because we see that there are differences in terms of first-generation low-income students of color, first quarter-to-quarter retention and first-year retention rates and graduation rates. And then our second goal around students is really enhancing student well-being. So the work that we are doing here is situated in our mission, vision, and values as an institution. It's situated in our strategic plan and the things that we say we're going to do, and that's important to us. And then for me as a chancellor here, it is situated in my own personal why, for why I do this work and why I'm so proud to be the chancellor here at UWT, because the students that we serve here are students very similar, who have very similar backgrounds to mine. So I just want to thank you all for the work that you are doing. I know that that personal why resonates with many of you, and you all are going to do the work of moving us forward as an institution on our why as well. So thank you for the leadership, for Bonnie and Amanda, for Andy and Mintha, and it is, I think, I'm supposed to introduce Andy Harris, who is starting his second year. I'm starting my third year as chancellor, and Andy's starting his second year as our executive vice chancellor for academic affairs. Andy.
Well, thank you, Sheila, and thank you all for being here. Whoever ordered the Metro coffee, probably Frankie, thank you. I will show up to anything that has good coffee at it, as some of you know. The chairs in this room, I have my questions about. But as I am still relatively new to the Northwest, maybe this is something that has a value that I'm not seeing. So I'm so grateful for all of you being here to take up this work, the next stage of this work on behalf of our campus. I look at you all and I'm struck by the outpouring of effort towards a set of initiatives that 20 years ago it would have been harder to fill a room with. And I know because I was trying to fill rooms 20 years ago to do things that weren't called student success then, but were similar in their goals. And the ability to call on faculty expertise, the ability to get faculty and student affairs professionals in the same room, those were harder things in the past and in other places. And I am so delighted that you have come here willing to work on this. This is one of the most important projects that this campus will undertake in this decade. And I really want to underscore that. I hope that we will not look back on this in a few years and say, this was just another thing that we did. It was a thing that was in a plan that produced another plan that sat on a shelf that people later could look at and say, oh, whoa, some people asked the questions before that we're asking now. I would like us to ask new questions because we have helped solve some of the challenges that we have here. You all know, I think, that increasing the number of students who graduate, reducing equity gaps. You're welcome. And improving the experience of degrees and the ability to translate those degrees into future career success. Sometimes we talk about that as if those enhance our mission. They don't actually enhance our mission. I want to remind us that those are our mission. That is why the university was founded, is why our campus was founded. We know now all kinds of things that we've long suspected, that there are strong correlations between college degree attainment, social mobility, particularly here, career opportunity, and even, as some of us just read a couple of days ago in the paper, with lifespan itself. So the work we do here is community changing and it is life changing. But then I look again to those of you I know and those of you who I don't know, and I realize that you know all this. You didn't come here to be convinced. You didn't show up needing my persuasion that this was a worthwhile project. What you have unequivocally is my support. I stand with you, and I'm ready to help you help this campus be better. So thank you. I don't know who I'm supposed to introduce, but
Thank you to both Dr. Edwards-Lang and Dr. Harris. We're going to be hearing from our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs in a moment. First, I would like to introduce another guest who's going to welcome us. Dr. Bill Mahoney is the Associate Dean for Student and Postdoctoral Affairs at the UW Graduate School, which I think is a good reminder that we are doing this work in a tri-campus context. One of our groups is around graduate students, and so partnership with the grad school is going to be very important to the success of our work. So if Bill is ready.
Yeah, can you hear me in the room?
We can.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Bonnie, and the rest of the leadership team there for the invitation. As Bonnie said, I'm the Associate Dean for Students and Postdocs at the Graduate School at UW, and I'm also faculty in the School of Medicine. But what really impressed me when I first talked with Bonnie was that you guys are putting graduate students as one of the key pillars in your study. Oftentimes, we think of ourselves as an undergrad institution, and the graduate students are just there. And we need to make sure that we elevate the role of the graduate students. Your efforts align well with what the graduate school has planned both currently and going forward. So I look forward to hearing the outcome of your study. And I encourage you to ask a few key questions. What is unique about your programs and your student populations? And why do they benefit most by being in your programs? And are they happy and prepared for the degrees that come afterwards? And those are look differently whether you're looking at undergrad or a grad. So as those as guiding principles, I really thank you for doing this hard work. And again, for putting the role and the importance of graduate students front and center. I will be happy to collaborate as you go forward. And I just wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Okay, so we've had some welcomes, and we're very grateful for those welcomes. And now we're going to dive deeper into the work ahead. What have we done? Where are we going? And one of the things we wanted to highlight is some of the national work that we're connected to. And so with that, I'm going to make a motion. There we go. One thing that you will hear us saying, and perhaps have already heard us say at town hall meetings, is first time, first year, first gen. So we're really trying to approach this work through applying that lens to the student success work here. And this really came out of an opportunity we've had. Y'all may remember Janira Pacheco, who led First Gen student programs, and she got us successfully recognized nationally by the NASPA Center for First Generation Student Success as a First Gen Forward institution, which means that we had enough data and enough efforts to show that we had been successful in serving first-gen students and attaining success. And as part of that, we became invited to participate in a consortium called First Scholars, also coordinated by the NASPA Center for First Generation Student Success, where we are working with colleges and universities, including two-year schools from across the country, who are working together to develop a national community practice about how we best serve the success of first-gen students. Now, that launched during the pandemic, so it was quite a journey. And one of the things that we had for the first time ever in March was an opportunity provided by NASPA to go to Boston and participate in a leadership academy. And at that space, we had dedicated time to really think about first-gen student success. And as part of that work, we did a deeper dive into our data about where are we losing students? Where are we not providing enough support to make sure these students can graduate and thrive? And from that, this is where the first time, first year, first gen lens came from. So out of the 1,250 undergraduates who are new to our institution, who started in fall 2021, 213 were not back with us the next fall. And of those, 141 were first time in college, And I'm making the sweeping motion. There we go. And 119 were first gen. So applying this lens through a universal design approach feels like a really good way that we can help move the noodle. Noodle? Yep. Move the noodle. We're gonna move the needle. Someone has not eaten lunch. We're gonna move the needle in creating success for all students by trying to design for those students who are the most marginalized from opportunity and success. And I say that in a very institution-owned way. Okay, and so with that, we are very excited to have Mentha Hines-Wilson, our Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, who is with us in Boston, to introduce a next guest.
So good afternoon. Oh, wow, there are a lot of people here. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you to Amanda and thank you for Bonnie for your leadership in coordinating this particular event. There is so much rich information that is coming forward, and I am very excited. I'm also excited because, as Andy mentioned, this is one of those moments in which academic affairs and student affairs, we are indeed coming together. We recognize that students, when they experience the university, they're not necessarily thinking about, well, is that an academic affairs question or is that a student affairs question? They're looking at the whole. And so at the end of the day, it really is about the work that we're doing together, collaboratively, that is having a successful impact on students and their ability to thrive and flourish in the classroom. So today I have the great pleasure of introducing an individual who I hold in high regard, and she is a great friend of the University of Washington, Tacoma, and that is Dr. Sarah Whitley. So Sarah is a respected scholar and champion of student success. She herself is a first-gen student and has really dedicated all of her professional career to the enhancement and development of programs and services and opportunities that are going to move the needle, not only on a local level, but nationally and increasingly internationally. Sarah serves as the Vice President of the Center for First Generation Student Success. It's an initiative with the Student Affairs Administrators in Higher Education. Those of you who are old school, that's NASPA, but NASPA has changed its acronym and it doesn't match up, but they're associated with NASPA. And this initiative is also funded and receiving great support from the Suter Foundation. Sarah's scholarship and her accomplishments are extensive, including multiple academic publications, such as the First Generation Student Success, a landscape analysis of programs and services at four-year institutions. Sarah is known as a dynamic leader, and under her guidance, the center has emerged as a leading advocate and thought partner for advancing critical first-generation student success, conversations through national convenings, advocacy, and policy influence. Now, there's so much more that I could say about Sarah, but I'm going to invite you to take a look at her profile online. You can get a better understanding of her background, her experience, and her why. What we really want is for you to enjoy all that she has to bring forward. So she gave us a little bit of snippet of information yesterday about what she is going to present today, and I think you're going to find that it absolutely connects and resonates to the work that we do here. If nothing else, I know that you're going to walk away with a deeper understanding that first generation success in higher education equates to generational change in families and economic change within our communities. And that really speaks to and bodes to the why of UW-Tacoma. So with that, my friend Sarah, how you doing today?
Good afternoon, everyone. Mentha, thank you so much for that kind introduction. I'm going to take you on the road with me. I've never had one that kind. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to be with you today. I am going to do a little screen share here while we're saying hello. But it is an absolute honor and privilege to be on a call today with our friends at UW-Tacoma. We have such a wonderful relationship with Mentha and with Bonnie and with Amanda and the wonderful team there. As Amanda said, we kind of launched with you all and during the pandemic, and that was rough for all of us. But we have really appreciated your institution's continued commitment to coming back to this work. And really, when we learned that you all were going to situate your strategic success work, your student success work around first generation students, we could not have been more excited because it's a really simple statement, but what's good for first gen students is good for all students. And there's such deep intersectional identity. You're going to hear from Heather in a little bit. I am first generation. I'm also a first generation transfer student. I'm the first in my family to have attended graduate education. I'm so excited you all are including graduate students in this work. So we're just so happy, so excited to have a chancellor who is a first generation college graduate leading that charge. It's just such important work. And so I thought today I'd share just a little bit with you all about what we're seeing nationally, and really to reinforce the fact that you're actually getting ahead of the game. It might seem like, oh gosh, we are so behind. We have so much work to do. This is going to be so hard. And really, at the end of the day, you all are positioning your institution in a place that's very future focused on where higher education is moving around first generation student support. So let's talk a little bit about that. And so you may know a national statistic that says 1/3 of all currently enrolled undergraduate students are first generation. And as new details and data are coming out of the National Center for the Education Statistics just in the last week, we know that that number is now over 50%, between 54 and 56%. So 1 in 2 students nationally are now identifying as first generation. Now, you have to take that for a moment and think about it. Did we really gain that many more first gen students? Maybe. But also we're doing better work for this population. We're putting attention on them. We're collecting better data. We're cleaning up the complicated nature of identifying. We're creating celebratory experiences where first gen students know it's okay to say, hey, I'm first gen, and not that it's going to be held against them in the admissions experience. So I love that you all are thinking about your data and who at UW-Tacoma is first generation. That's a stepping stone to who's getting services, who's not. How do we get data to our academic colleges? How do we help our deans better understand who's in and out of their particular majors? And so that's really a first step in a lot of the important work that's going to happen moving forward. We know nationally that undergraduate student enrollment is declining. Since 2015, we've seen about 2 million students leave higher education, but just during fall 2019 to 2021, we saw a 6.6% decline. So we know that if we're looking at higher education, there's fewer students to come to us. And that's something that all of our institutions are grappling with. Some institutions, they're seeing big declines. Our regional publics, our community colleges, in a lot of ways are seeing declines. We're seeing some institutions rebounding, and actually was working with a school this week who was having to buy hotel space to put students in, but they hadn't actually done work to say, how are we going to serve more first gen students if they're all going to now be at our institution? And that's actually not good for them to have recruited them and to have not met that promise. You'll hear me say this a lot as we continue our work together, but we cannot continue to recruit first generation students into institutions that are not prepared to help them find success. And so we're doing a lot of that in higher ed right now, but the promise of success on the back end really has to be with our institutions. So we know, as we said, higher ed institutions are struggling a bit. There is the demographic cliff. We're continuing to see declining enrollment through 2030. You all know that there is just not a plethora of money sitting around at your institution, and you're really having to think critically about resource sharing, resource utilization, strategic priorities. In higher ed, sometimes we're not real good at stopping things, but we're really good at adding things and being strategic about the decisions we're making. We know that there's lots of alternatives out there these days with companies and corporations having their own systems of education. And if you've read any media or watched any election coverage, there's a real concern about confidence around higher education. And so that is leading to declining enrollment, concerns around attending higher ed. First gen students in particular were also disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're still seeing what the long-term effects of that are going to look like. But first gen students are not returning to college in the ways that we would hope that they would have over time. So what does that all mean? And so for a long time, first gen work was really considered a moral imperative. If these are students, they deserve to be successful and we should help them. Absolutely, still the case. But what's happening is this shift to a business imperative. Business institutions are looking to first generation college students to fill their enrollment gaps, to fill their institutions in a way to help them keep the doors open, to keep institutional stability. And that's where I meant you all are really doing some important forward thinking work, because we know that children today in K-12 education under the age of 18, should they choose to go to college, they're more likely than not going to be first generation. So the students who are coming to us are going to be first gen. They're going to live in our residence halls. They're going to sit in our classrooms. They're going to eat in our dining halls. And we want to make sure that we're an institution who says, when I promised you should come to UW-Tacoma, we're going to be ready for you on the other side of that conversation. And that means dismantling all the systemic barriers to success that we have in place, taking out complicated jargon, looking at policy and procedure. I often kind of jokingly say, we can't mentor program our way to success. We can do wonderful mentoring programs, but they're not going to solve all of our challenges. We have to think differently about how our institutions are functioning day to day. There's probably a Rolodex in your head of going, oh yeah, there's that policy, this procedure, that thing we do that makes college going really hard for our students. So just know, you're not only serving the students that you have today, you're going to be preparing yourself for serving the students of tomorrow as well, who are going to be coming in droves to the University of Washington, Tacoma. We know that the first gen opportunity gap is real. They tend to have fewer resources. They're pursuing postgraduate education at lower rates. They're attaining four-year degrees in lower levels. And the primary work that we're doing through First Scholars with your institution is, how do we close those particular gaps that are specific to UW-Tacoma? And that's the work that we'll continue to do through our continuous improvement cycles with you all. Really quickly, I just wanted, in the last week or so, new data has been released using the National Post-Secondary Study on Aid. And that's where the earlier number, around 54% of undergraduates. But one of the things I wanted to draw your attention to is a $13,000 widening in the wage gap between continuing generation and first generation families based upon median parental income of financially dependent students. And so we know that's getting worse and not better, and that's going to impact college going for our students. I also just wanted to note, we are seeing the highest percentages of first generation students looking to attend college on the West Coast. So you all are geographically positioned in a really interesting way for this work as well. We also have been hearing nationally, and you all are a testament to this, leadership knows that we need to do more for first gen students, and those at institutions are saying we need to do more, we need to do it better, and we need to do it from an institutional perspective. So I just applaud all of you for being in the room today. I realize they gave you cupcakes and coffee, but you showed up, and it's really important that you're doing this good work. And then as we wrap up, something that I've always really appreciated in learning about your institution is your focus on community. Building community within your institution, within the larger Tacoma area. And we know that first generation students who complete college go on to be more gainfully employed, to earn higher wages over time, and to be more civically engaged. They volunteer in their communities, they vote in elections, they participate in school-related activities with their children. And that means that those students who stay in your area, and often they do, you're not only improving their lives, but you're improving your community, you're improving their families, their children, their future children, as a part of this commitment that you all are making. And we know that if we could just try to even close that gap between the 20% graduation rate nationally for first-gen students, if we could just get it up to 49%, 1.4 million more college graduates would be produced. You know, in my wild thinking, I'm like, well, what if we got it to 70%, 80%, 90%? But when we do that, we have more voters, we have more folks contributing economically, we have improved healthcare systems, that just the benefits are overwhelming. So while you might get stuck in the weeds sometimes of, oh gosh, more work, more meetings, stuff to do, this is hard, remember that what you're doing is going to create real change for students for the long haul. It's going to create a better UW-Tacoma. It's going to create a better Tacoma community. And really, the impacts are endless. And so I'm just grateful for the time, a couple of minutes to spend with you all today, and to just reinforce that our center is here and available to you for anything you might need ever. You don't have to go through Amanda or Bonnie or Mintha. You can call us directly. You can use our resources. You can chat with us. We're here to help And I actually, as we got on the call today, realized I'm going to be in Seattle in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to reach out and Mintha, I'm going to say, hey, maybe there's something we should get together and talk about while I'm on your coast as well. But thank you all again. I'm just so grateful for the work that you're leading. And please know that it's not an empty statement. What you're doing is really making a difference, and the commitment you're making is something that we're really proud of, and we're excited to share nationally as well. Thank you all so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It is really cool, sort of in the post-COVID world, if that's what we can call it, that we are able to zoom in folks from other parts of the country so that we can get a larger perspective on our work. And so continuing with that, we're going to talk about, I wouldn't say another group, it's another identity that our students tend to hold on this campus. So when we talk about the pathway to UW-Tacoma, what is the typical pathway to UW-Tacoma? There is no typical pathway to UW-Tacoma. Our students come through a diverse, different set of stories and pathways and ways of getting here. So for example, for the students, and by the way, we keep showing fall 2022 data because Census Day, I believe, is tomorrow. So we'll have fall 2023 tomorrow. Well, next year we'll do this after that. But of the 4103 students who were here, this is undergrads, we'll talk about grads later, 4103, this is probably not surprising to you that about half are what we call first time in college and half come from other schools. What do I mean by other schools? They are transfer students. So if you click, about 40% of that total came to us from a Washington Community and Technical College. And I want to be really clear that this is already going to be a fairly complicated slide. This is an oversimplification. You know, if you talk to most of our students, which we all have, you know, maybe they started here and then went to community college and then returned here. There's a whole range of different ways that students find themselves here. Then if we look at those students coming in directly from high school, that is also a bit of an oversimplification because about 17% of our students participated in a dual enrollment program such as Running Start. So when you put this all together, only 23% of UW-Tacoma students arrived here without college credit already, right? And so anything we're doing in the student success realm has to take the context of the transfer experience into account. So when Amanda and I were talking about this event and we wanted to bring someone in to talk about the transfer experience from a national perspective, the person that came to my mind immediately was Dr. Heather Adams. Dr. Heather Adams is an associate director at the Aspen Institute as part of the College Excellence Program. I got to meet Heather when we participated together, well, she led and we participated in the Aspen Transfer Intensive. And so I see Mike Work is in the back, which is handy. So Mike Work at that time was working for Pierce College. He invited UW-Tacoma to partner with Pierce College to be part of the Aspen Institute, which Dr. Heather Adams is in charge of, she runs. And this experience was pretty phenomenal. We got to work really closely as partners to talk through our shared students. They are the same students who are at Pierce and then here. So Heather in particular just has the most passion. She is the champion for transfer students. She herself was a transfer student, as I'm sure she'll tell you. She was the director of the UCLA Transfer Student Center before moving to the College Excellence Program. For those who are not familiar with the Aspen Institute, you might have heard of something called the Transfer Playbook. They have a number of different publications that come out of this program that are really sort of the national models for thinking about transfer in a 21st century way. So I will stop talking and let Heather tell you more about her work directly. But thank you for being here, Heather.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Bonnie. That was really beautiful. Thank you everyone who's in the audience, UW-Tacoma, Pierce friends, Dr. Edwards-Lang and Dr. Harris, Mentha. It was just really wonderful to get to be be part of this day and listen to Sarah before, who we work parallel to each other in this world of higher education and first-gen transfer students. So it's really just an honor to be here. And thank you for sharing about my transfer experience. I was a transfer student, so I definitely have a passion for it. I definitely come through that personal lens, that personal framework when I'm talking about transfer. But today, I think just to jump, kind of add on to what Sarah shared, I want to dig into sort of the national urgency on this issue of transfer, right? Why is it important that that we focus on community college transfer specifically? So I'm just going to dive right into some data. You will all get this PowerPoint later, and I am happy to answer questions if I go a little quickly and it seems confusing. But basically, the highest wage jobs in the future is going to require a bachelor's degree. There's lots of research out there at the moment that predicts that the majority of jobs in the future are going to require or prefer a bachelor's degree or higher. The pandemic has really only accelerated that trend. And so here on the left, you can see the number of good jobs. That's really just high wage, family sustaining income jobs that are projected over the next decade or so. The number of jobs that require a high school degree only are shrinking. And of course, unfortunately, this disruption really predominantly affects those that are already furthest from opportunity. Younger students, folks with no college degree, low-wage workers from communities of color, and those workers, they're entering a labor market that favors a bachelor's degree. And this trend is really only going to grow in years to come. So equitable economic mobility, security, and opportunity will really depend on addressing this trend more now than ever. And that's the urgency behind it. Now, for example, I'll just show you here where you are in Washington right now. Currently, approximately 54% of living wage jobs in Washington currently require a bachelor's degree. That's about, for a family of four with two incomes, it's about $56,000 a year. And you can see here some of the top 25 occupations that currently require a bachelor's degree. And the national data and the state data say that that's going to dramatically increase over the next 5 to 10 years. So we all know that not everyone has access to those good highest wage paying jobs because of the inequity in who gets a bachelor's degree. Sarah alluded to this. Degree attainment disparities, they're really stark when we start disaggregating the race by income, for instance. On this slide, you're seeing a BA attainment rate for the nation's lowest income young people, folks that are above between the ages of 24 and 64. And that is at 15%. Bachelor's degree attainment rate for the nation's lowest income young people is at 15%. Now, that's staggeringly low. And the inequities are staggeringly high, with 59% of their high income peers attaining a bachelor's degree. And what's more is this, over the last 2 decades, we've really only gone from 7 to 15%. So it's not budging, it's not moving. There are also, of course, disparities by race. This graph here shows the disparities in educational attainment by race and highest level of educational attainment of adults aged 25 to 64. There's a 17-point gap between Hispanic bachelor degree completers and the overall population of bachelor's degree completers, 19 to 36%, and a 10-point difference between Black bachelor's degree completers and the overall population of bachelor's degree completers. What does this look like in Washington, I wondered? And so I took a look at some of your bachelor's degree attainment data. And here on this graph, you can see if you're looking at the average bachelor degree attainment in Washington state, currently it looks like it's about around 37%, which is not too bad in terms of the national average, believe it or not. But look at our students of colors and our communities of colors and the bachelor degree and attainment rate based on national data here. It's still significantly lower. So to me, all of these disparities are really indicating that to support a more equitable opportunity in the future, we've got to do something drastically different than what we've been doing before. Because thus far, despite all of these investments in student success over the last 2 decades, meaningful change has really failed to materialize for those who need it the most. What we've done before hasn't worked, and through our research at the Aspen Institute and some of the research that Sarah's done and that other incredible organizations across the country have done, we really believe that we can accelerate this progress by advancing transfer student access, success, and equity, and that we have to pursue all 3 of those in order to achieve these dramatic changes that are necessary. It's questionable, though, of how to do that, right? How are we going to do that? I think the first thing to do is to start at the community college. The data shows that Black and Hispanic students are much more likely to attend community college than their white and Asian peers. Students of color from low-income households are choosing community colleges at rates, you can see on this graph here, of 36% of entering cohort for Black students and 43% Hispanic, as compared to only roughly 30% of whites and Asian. And on the right, you will see community college enrollment by income. Students from high poverty high schools are twice as likely to start in community college. Those aren't small differences to me. The students, they're choosing community college because it's the right decision for them. They're making that choice, the choice to attend community college, and it's happening in droves. And we need to really honor that choice. I think that higher education reform and student success strategies like the ones that you are implementing really must honor the choices students make about what's right for them. And we also need to honor what they want. And we have to honor that students do want bachelor's degrees. So this probably isn't news to anyone in this room, but I do think that it's important to just say it out loud. National data demonstrates that every year, the vast majority, about 80% of community college students want at least a bachelor's degree. Unfortunately, 6 years later, a third of students transfer to a university, and only 16% graduate with a bachelor's degree. And honestly, these numbers have not budged in decades. I mean, maybe it goes from like 12 to 15, 16%, but it's really a devastating gap between aspiration and outcome here. And, there are gazillions of wonderful other life paths and life goals, and life sometimes gets in the way, and we take different journeys in our higher educational journey. However, the merits of transformational change that's going to it's going to require this collective action from all of us, from community colleges, universities, communities around us, and each of the individuals within that collective. It's going to have to take of the form of an equity imperative, much like Sarah was talking about earlier. We have to. They're ineffective systems that are hurting low-income Black students the most. They complete bachelor's degrees at lower rates than their higher income peers and white peers. On the left here, we can see that in the a 6-year bachelor degree completion rates for students who started at community college by income, and higher income students completed a rate of about 21%, 22%, while students from lower income households complete about 10 or 11%. And then on the right, we can see the 6-year completion rates at the 4-year institutions for students who started at community college by race and ethnicity. Now, sadly, 2014 is the earliest data we have disaggregated by race and income. Yes, I know, it's sad. Good news on that in the next minute. But sad news is this data really still holds true. Students of color and students from low-income households are completing at lower rates. So in order to be equitable, we're really going to also need to honor students' time and their financial situation. You probably have also heard that on average, students lose about 43% of credits when they transfer to across institutions. Only about 58% of students successfully transfer 90% of their credit, and 15% can't even transfer any credit at all. And sometimes when they do, it doesn't count towards their major. So we really need to seek transfer reform and support that helps and undergirds timely and affordable degree completion and honors students' time and money. And then last but not least, reform has to support a better and more equitable experience. Sarah, you are a transfer student as well. So this might resonate, and those who are transfers in the room might have experienced something like this, but transfer is really not about credits. It's about students. And we really need to seek reform that speaks and supports to a better transfer student experience, because the backdrop here on this slide is what many are experiencing right now. And this is an actual screenshot of a list of course equivalencies that one institution, who will remain nameless, has posted on their website as a student resource. And, look, I look at this list and I see a ton of work that's gone into determining course equivalencies, right? Clearly. What I don't see is clarity for transfer students. What I don't see is a pathway that aligns with the student's academic, career, and other life goals. The good news is that there are some solutions. Bonnie mentioned the transfer playbook, and we've done a lot of research with the Community College Research Center, and we found these common themes across high-performing partnerships, like the one that you have with Pierce and some of your other partners. We've distilled them down into 3 essential practices: prioritizing transfer, creating clear programmatic pathways, and providing tailored transfer student advising. And we've worked with you all in the transfer intensive on these strategies. So as Sarah mentioned, you are national trailblazers. You are leading the pack in that manner. So I figured, as our last little wrap up, who better to share a little inside scoop on our latest research with than the trailblazers themselves. So we did the transfer playbook in 2015-16, and we are now working on a second edition. And the really exciting news about this is that we have disaggregated data now. We're working with the Clearinghouse, we're working with the Community College Research Center, and we are going to update Tracking Transfer, the Tracking Transfer report, which will really ensure a national and state leaders, they know how their transfer outcomes will look for all students, particularly Black, Hispanic, Indigenous, and lower income students. And it will sort of rate states, I would say, on how you're doing in that way. We're also going to, based on our learnings from the research we're doing on tracking transfer, we're going to learn from community colleges and university transfer partnerships that are really delivering the strongest outcomes for students of color. And then we are going to produce an updated transfer playbook in 2024, probably fall 2024. So it's really, really exciting. We've already started doing screening calls, and we're going to do some site visits soon. And this is a sneak peek at our emerging findings. These are very preliminary. So, just know that this is brand new, but I just, y'all are doing such great work. You have these transfer reform strategies embedded in the student success strategy that you're talking about today. So I just wanted you to get a little hint on what's coming as you move forward and think about what it is that you're doing in your roles, in your departments, in your divisions for transfer as you move forward this success strategy. So luckily, the 3 pillars are still pretty much the same. It's prioritizing, programmatic pathways, and advising. However, I will say that what I'm finding is really distinct differences in presidential level prioritization. You saw it today. You've got your president in the room making these decisions, funding these decisions, elevating these decisions, talking about the decisions, organizing partnerships like they did with Pierce for the transfer intensive, and making sure that you're collecting and reporting and discussing and using transfer student data outcomes in your continuous improvement efforts, like your success strategies and your plan that you're implementing. So then in creating programmatic pathways, I would say the biggest difference here is really about aligning pathways to regional or local relevant workforce needs. You saw that slide before about Washington's, the degrees that will be required for the top jobs in Washington, really aligning your pathways, your program maps that outline major specific course sequences throughout the entire transfer experience from, high school, community college to the university, to completion, to career and workforce, and what's happening next after that. We're seeing that high quality, rigorous instruction, especially in the gateway courses, is really making a big, huge difference, probably not a huge surprise. Also, really being imaginative and coming up with unconventional pathways. So the 2+2 isn't necessarily an innovative pathway at the moment. Often doesn't work for student schedules or for some of the career pathways that we have them on. So you're seeing here that a lot of faculty engagement in these pathways and the maintenance of those pathways are definitely what we're seeing. I think I have to shift to the last couple of slides, but I'll just say about...
Yeah. Sorry, Heather, can you hear me? I'm so sorry. There is so much to cover here. And clearly we love your passion, your advocacy. Cannot wait to see that transfer playbook. And we've got students that are here for a panel. So we just want to make sure that we honor their time. So let's thank Dr. Heather Adams for her information. Thank you so much. Y'all, we have some amazing partners, not only in this room, but across the country, who are excited about what we're doing. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. The next thing that we are going to take a very, very quick look at, and Bonnie and I are going to speed through this in record time. So not to worry, this is being recorded and we will send out slides afterwards because this is going to be way too fast to digest. And again, we've got students in the back. Hello, students. We're so glad you're here. And we will transfer very quickly to our student panel. Well, we had such a successful kickoff event that we actually ran out of time. And so this next section is information that Bonnie and I had wanted to present during the kickoff. And so we'll go ahead and share a little bit more data and information about priorities for student success this year.
We want to start with the goals in mind. And so to determine our goals, we started by looking at the UW-Tacoma strategic plan. In the strategic plan, there are a number of quantitative goals around retention and graduation. So on the screen, you can see that the 26-27 goal for our 1 quarter retention is 94%. Our 1 year retention is 88%, and our 6 year graduation is 80%. And rather than really focusing on those percents, which can feel a little bit abstract, instead, we want you to think about this 80% number. So to get, next please, to get to 80% is really a difference of about 60 to 70 students per year. So if we retain 60 to 70 students per year, we will be at a 80% 6 year graduation rate. What that means is every interaction, every initiative, every program matters. We're not talking about hundreds and hundreds of students. Every life that we influence matters, both quantitatively and of course to the student and their life. Next. In the strategic plan, we have also made a commitment to reducing equity gaps to 0 in every metric that we are looking at. That is a laudable goal and one that we are fully committed to. And we need some help to get there. We need to look at the data in a disaggregated way, in a nuanced way, and not make assumptions that are based on, say, national trends, because our student body is quite different. So for example, on the screen, you can see the equity gaps in 1 year retention based on race and ethnicity. And you might notice that some of the racial and ethnic populations are not included in this graph. And that is because some of our populations are a little bit smaller. And when we look at 1 year of retention, those numbers start to get really sort of difficult to interpret in a meaningful way. So what we're showing here on the right-hand side is a 4 year moving average in 1 year retention of some of our smaller populations. So I want to highlight just a couple of examples just to start you thinking a little bit about what kinds of culturally affirming programming might you might come out of looking at the data in this way. So for example, if you look at our retention rate, our Latinx retention rate has been declining during COVID. This is something that might spark some thoughts around how to structure our student success work. Likewise, over the past few years, our Native American retention and graduation rate has been on the lower side. So what is some programming? What are some things that we can do at UW-Tacoma that is specific to different affinity groups on campus to really realize this goal of reducing equity gaps to 0? Next, please. We also want to talk a little bit about graduate students, and you will notice that one of our priorities of the student success strategy is around graduate student success. And frankly, we don't have as clear metrics for graduate students because graduate programs are also different. And so often when we think about what graduate student success looks like, that's determined at the program level because some programs are a year long, some are many years long, and they just all look different. That said, it's helpful to know some things about graduate students at UW-Tacoma. Some of us know a lot about graduate students and some of us know less because they tend to be on campus on nights and weekends. 15% of UW-Tacoma students are graduate students. Next. 40% of our graduate students attended a UW campus as an undergrad. So these are in many ways some of the same students that you've worked with over the years are now here as our graduate students. Next. 18% of our graduate students are international. The number of internationals or the percentage of international students is way lower for undergraduates, and that can change. But it's important to know about graduate students that about 20% of them are international students. And so when we're talking about student success, we need to be really mindful of some best practices that perhaps our partners in the Office of Global Affairs can help with. Next. 56% of admitted graduate students were the first in their family to go to graduate school. And I'm really excited that we are actually now measuring this number. So we're looking at first gen in grad school. And so as we talk later about thinking about this first gen lens, it applies very much to our graduate students as well. And next. And as I mentioned, as most of us know, most of our graduate students are on campus at different time than many of us who work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So those are all important things, I think, that are helpful to us as we think about graduate students at UW-Tacoma. At the same time, we do want to get to, next slide, we do want to get to some student success metrics that we can look at for graduate students. And what we often think about is post-graduation success as being a really synthetic sort of beginning with the end in mind type of way of looking at student success. And I think Amanda and I would have argued that this is true for our undergrads as well. So I'll turn it over to Amanda.
Yeah, so we, as part of our student success metrics for the strategic plan, we are going to be looking at the attainment of full-time employment or continuing education within 6 months of graduation. And so we have a goal to get from 69.6%, which is what our current data are indicating, to 75%, and to decrease the equity gap within that first 6 months from 6.8 to 0. Now, we know that early career or continuing education outcomes are not the end all be all of higher education. And so we are certainly aware of looking both 5, 10, and then several decades out. But this is where we're starting for the strategic plan for this year. And we also introduced a framework about really focusing on a sense of purpose and sense of belonging. And this comes out of research that we have done in partnership with community for students who left both UW-Tacoma and Tacoma Community College in good academic standing. And we found 7 different themes that really rose to the top for students about why they left these institutions. And through that work and through continuing to engage with students around our findings, what we really discovered is that we're, as a campus and a community, that we can do more work with more intentionality, is really focusing on sense of purpose and sense of belonging to support that persistence. So some folks may be aware that last year we did have a student success task force. All the folks on the screen were active participants in that. And this group did a landscape analysis about what are we doing? What are the national best practices for student success? They developed an inventory and they did prioritization of all the things that we can do. What do we want to prioritize to really impact student success at UW-Tacoma? And this group landed on 5 different action teams. And so first of all, if you would like a copy of the report, there is a link down on the bottom left-hand corner where you can see the final report from the Student Success Task Force last year. And this year, we've launched the Student Success Steering Committee. And this is a group that is working on 5 strategic action areas: graduate student support, removing curricular barriers, enhancing the first year experience with a lens on communications, because communications was a theme that came up a lot, which we decided to focus on in an applied way. High impact practices, and then a common student data system using Slate and Slate for Student Success, and then also with a communications lens. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, all of these things are interrelated, and you are correct. And some of the things that we know that we are working and aspiring toward doing is ensuring that whatever we develop with these action groups is that they are student-centered, that they are equity-focused, that they are data-informed, they're nimble, we recognize interdependence, and that what we develop and what we take on is sustainable. So we're looking at helping to foment some really transformational change to both the practice of what we do, but also the culture of how we all are co-owners and co-creators of student success.
So one of the things that we think is helpful is to sort of synthesize a lot of what we've told you already into some frameworks that we're hoping we can apply across this work, so we can have some shared priorities, some shared language, some shared focus. One is to build on our collective assets and lessons learned. Like many of you, Amanda and I have both been working on student success work at UW-Tacoma for many, many years. And all of that work is what led us to this point. So we are built on this incredible ladder full of work, this staircase that we've all been working on, and this is going to take us to the next level. So at the beginning of this year, we're at the point we're at the end of this year, we're going to be better than we were at the beginning of this year. Amanda also talked about this idea about sense of purpose and sense of belonging. And then at the beginning of this session, we talked a little bit about the first year experience at UW-Tacoma. And so what we are proposing is that we use a first year, first generation lens on our work. Think about, from a targeted universalist point of view, when you think about, for example, communication, how might you be able to think about the first gen experience, the first time in college student from the first gen perspective? And that type of lens will help everybody, right? It will help all of our students if we think about how we are communicating and programming for this, what we're calling first cubed perspective. Next, please. To give you an update on where we are, the Amanda talked about the group from last year that came up with these 5 priorities. And then at the beginning of summer, we put out a call for folks to nominate or self-nominate to become co-chairs. We were so excited because there was just a lot of interest. We got a lot of responses to those requests, even though they came out during finals week. And so we have put together a team of co-chairs, 2 to 3 for each group, that we think represents a broad swath of campus, many different constituents, many different subject matter experts to co-chair these 5 different groups. And we are now working on the process of putting together teams to work on these groups. And we want to be really clear that a lot of this is dynamic and that there's different ways that you might be able to interact with these groups. In some cases, you might be part of a working group. In some cases, you might be consulted by a working group, or maybe as the working group develops over time, the composition of that group will shift depending on what they are working on. But we also want to acknowledge this group of wonderful co-chairs who stepped up to the call, and you can see the list on the screen here. Next.
So some of the transformational change that we are supporting and practicing together is faster learning and faster change. And so we have created an outline of what the year is going to look like. We have been working with SOBA Solutions, who have been expert coaches for us through the NASPA for Scholars initiative, and who we've also engaged for this initiative. And so a year goes by really fast. And so you can see that part of our work, we've already had our orientation with our co-chairs and SOBA Solutions. This is the video for the October 5th campus kickoff. We've got milestones that are due on October 31st. So we're asking all of our working groups to project out, what do you think will be done after 90, 180, and 270 days? And then those are the times where we will also be reporting out to the Chancellor's Cabinet and to the campus more broadly. And so this is really about being accountable for change and action, moving faster than perhaps we are used to, but also embracing that this is a collaborative and iterative process of continually improving how we're supporting students in success. And at the co-chair kickoff, we had someone ask the question, what would it look like if we were wildly successful? And of course, we had a lot of very long technical answer with key performance indicators. But fundamentally, Bonnie and I agreed that if our work is wildly successful, we will all experience a joyful culture of working collaboratively to help students thrive while they're on campus and afterwards. But that's our perspective, and we think it's really important that everyone on this campus is able to take a moment and think about, for you, from where you're sitting, what would it look like for you if we were wildly successful in this endeavor?
So we want to end with an invitation. On the screen, there is a link and a QR code. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to have a rolling recruitment onto these groups. And what you're going to be asked in this, if you follow this QR code, is what level of involvement that you want. So it's not necessarily self-nominating to be on a committee, but expressing interest in being kept in the loop or participating in a range of different ways. So please take a look. Click on the QR code or the link, however it works for you, and let us know how you want to be engaged. In the end, this is an all-campus event, all-campus initiative, and it's really going to take all of us participating in lots of different ways to get to some of these ambitious goals.
And with that, we will transition to our student panel, and you'll hear more about this later, so next slide. And now, I should get a record for this. I mean, move the noodle, people, move the noodle. We're able to have someone here facilitating.
Perfect. All right, thank you guys. If you are a student on the panel, please make your way to these chairs here. And I will talk just a little bit while you are making your way to the chair. And then we have another live microphone for the students. Perfect. The power button is on the bottom. So my name is Dwayne Chambers. Oh, okay. I never rush. Hey. All right. So my name is Dwayne Chambers. I am representing the TLC, and this kind of information is right in our wheelhouse. I'm also a mathematician, so you could show me these numbers all day long. This is absolutely perfect. But actually, one of the things that's also interesting to us, even if we're not mathematicians, is the stories that are connected to these numbers. So we've actually gathered together a student panel. I'm going to have them introduce themselves in a little bit. What I'm actually hoping for us to get is I'm hoping for us to get some lenses for some of the data that we've seen. I'm hoping for us to be able to see some of the student experiences. So I tried to actually put together a panel that had some students who were first time in college, some students who were international, some students who were first generation, some students who were transfer, and then some students who were international like myself. Thinking about our stories, our stories are just really interesting. I have a ton of questions here for the students. We will not get all these questions done. You have a ton of questions for these students, and so I encourage you, if you find one of them, grab them and interview them. But if you can't find one of these students, grab any of the students that you see on campus who you've formed a relationship with. And if you haven't formed a relationship with, then continue to try to form relationships with their students. So students, I'm gonna ask you, just going right down the row, microphone, Niaz, you have it. Would you introduce your name, your year, and major, and also explain through what lens or lenses you're viewing your experience at UWT Tacoma?
Hello? Oh, okay. This is working now. Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob. I'm a fifth-year student here at UW Tacoma. I'm double majoring in psychology and ethnic, gender, and labor studies. And the lenses that I'm bringing here with me to the space are those of a first-generation college student, someone who self-identifies as economically insecure. I'm also a transfer student. I came over here from UW Seattle, my second year of college. And I think another really important lens is that I was born and raised here in Tacoma, so.
Hey everyone, my name is Evan. I'm a graduate student here at UW Tacoma in our Masters of Science in Accounting program. I also did my undergrad here as well in accounting. And I guess my lenses would be, I am both a white and Native American student, a first generation college student. I come from a military family, so part of the reason why I was able to attend college, the GI Bill. And yeah.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Niaz. I'm a Jamaican international student.
Oh, awesome. Please continue, sorry.
All right, so aside from Jamaica, I should also say that I've lived in other countries, Botswana, Ukraine, and a little bit in India as well. I moved to the United States in 2019, and I attended Pierce College, so I was excited when, was it Heather?
Dr. Adams, yeah.
Dr. Adams. So that was great. I went to Pierce College, I had a really good experience. I transferred here with an associate's, and now I'm in the computer science program, about to graduate. So it's my final quarter. I see Dr. Chin over there in the back. Yeah, and so lenses, I've been to many different countries. I've studied in other countries. I'm also a transfer student, so I went through the community college pathway, which I find very amazing, like useful in so many different ways. Yeah.
My name is Jaden. I am a second year student here. My major is business administration, and I think on the lenses now. My lenses are, I'm a student here. I'm also a transfer student from Highline College. I did Running Start in high school. And I think another thing I really also contribute is I'm a student worker here. I work at the First Gen Fellows building with a little bit, yeah. And yeah, I think that's really it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Komisi. My pronouns are he, him, and his. My major is computer science. I'm a senior. what was the other question, Swain?
What lenses are you viewing your UW-Tacoma experience through?
Oh, just UW-Tacoma specifically?
Sure. Expand if you want.
So as a computer science major, all my professors have been good. And honestly, like for me as a student, I have really been slacking. So I feel really, I feel really inspired every time I go to class and learn from all of my professors. But for me, when I go outside of class, I get heavily influenced, or just a lot of things that impact me when it comes to my academics. Probably just I'll keep like hammering this to myself, is that like I'm not a failure. My professors always uplift me, but because of like personal issues that affect my academics, and it's a lot of things that I can't control, it really burdens my mental to think that I can't graduate. So senior, super senior, I've been in college for a long time. I don't know how I'm still getting financial aid, but I'm not gonna quite. Anybody from the financial aid office here? Thank you. When I get my refund, I'll treat you out to eat. So I'm not gonna question my blessing, but yeah, for being in college for a long period of time, it just helped me realize like who I am as a person and like what my passions are. So for majoring into computer science, I love technology growing up, but now I've been like networking with everybody from campus. UWT, but I'm also a transfer student, so I went to Tacoma Community College, and that's when I broke out of my shell of being like from an introvert to an extrovert. Gained a lot of knowledge from TCC and applied over here to UW-Tacoma, and I kind of like found out, almost finding out who I am as a person. I love computer science, but also like education, and a lot of people are like rooting me to be like a teacher because they don't really see a lot of Pacific Islanders in the field like that. Yeah. But I don't know. So yeah, in a nutshell, like, I love UWT.
Actually, I'm going to use it as a segue to my second question, and so we'll go back this direction. Why did you choose UW-Tacoma?
Well, obviously I didn't choose it for the free parking.
Please continue.
Will do. That's our new one. I chose UW-Tacoma because it's more close to my family. Me coming from a family-oriented culture, I always wanted to stay nearby my family. I chose UW-Seattle, but they rejected me, their loss. So it was, so it was also a sign for me. It was like, okay, I can't like leave Tacoma. So I was born in Lakewood, but grew up around Lakewood and Tacoma area, and it kind of gave me a sense of like I can't leave home unless like I create community.
Cool.
So for me, I've been working with high school students for the past 6 years, which made me love education. Actually, I just actually came back from my alma mater like an hour ago, just to check in on the students and see how they feel about college. So the retention rates, I'll try to help as a student, a little bit. But overall, why I chose UW-Tacoma is because I love Tacoma. It's a lot of sense of community. A lot of people downgrade it. Maybe because of the parking, I don't know. But overall, it's like I love the community here. Yeah.
Jade?
Oh.
I like the community answer. Part of mine was just the size of the classrooms. I mean, going to like a 300-person lecture, it just doesn't sound like something I really wanted to like start off my college career with. Because like I did Running Start, right? But I started Running Start at the start of COVID. So like going from like thinking I'm going to be in like a 40-person classroom, learning with other students my age, and then to come and find out that I'm going to be stuck behind a computer screen for like 9 months, it really did kind of suck. So I did feel like, you know, being able to be in a classroom with people, not a ridiculous amount, and having like the opportunity for like office hours and stuff like that, and really being able to like develop a relationship with my teachers really helped me like learn better, as well as just like understand more and like create more connections than like just from, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to go with this.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that, with the classroom sizes, but I didn't know about that until much later. So I found out in hindsight that, or in retrospect, that UWT was a lot better in that aspect.
So then what drew you to UW-Tacoma then?
So I applied to both programs, actually. I applied to, so computer science in general, there's a, UW in general has a good, strong reputation in the country, I would say. So I went to Pierce, and then through Pierce, I was like, okay, what are the pathways? UW is a clear one. And then it was like, oh, there's UW Seattle and UW Tacoma. What's the difference? I don't understand. And so I learned more about that. However, the application process for Seattle, there was a lot of issues with the transfer because they started asking about my college degree from a different country, and they were trying to get me to get transcripts from Ukraine. And I'm like, well, there's kind of things going on over there. So, and I was a part of I was involved, so I know what it was like when I left Ukraine, and now it's gotten even worse. And how am I supposed to do that? And then there was a back and forth, and I didn't wait. I didn't want to spend more time through that process. And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's for me. So I came to UWT, not thinking that it was a downgrade or anything. Both of them had good reputations. I think for computer science specifically, UW Seattle does have a stronger reputation, but still it's UW. So I was happy to find out later that, class sizes are actually pretty similar to what I had at Pierce, which I appreciated a lot. I could learn much better in this kind of environment. That's what drew me to UWT.
Thank you.
It's like +1 on the parking thing. But,
So I would say some of the things that drove me to UW Tacoma, pretty similar to them as well. I was also a Running Start student, a transfer student from Decatur High School in Federal Way, and kind of a non-traditional student. I took some time off after the pandemic started. I didn't want to transfer to a new college and experience everything for the first time all virtually. So I wanted to get that in-person experience as well. But I chose it for the academics. The commitment to academic excellency was very important to me. The resources that are available being part of the UW system. And then also for that sense of community and belonging. The faculty and staff are very welcoming, and professors make their time available for you. And the class sizes as well was a major benefit. It was similar to the class sizes that I had at Highline. But yeah.
All right. Jacob?
So I had mentioned that I started at UW Seattle, and a lot of the reasons I wanted to come to UW Tacoma was because of some of the things I experienced at UW Seattle. I kind of just picked it because in high school, that's kind of like the school that you want to go to. UW Seattle, you're cool, you're popular, whatever. But I went there, and it felt really isolating. It's a campus that serves 40,000 plus students. My first psychology class was 200, 300 people in the same class, so you didn't really get to talk to the professor or anything. UW Seattle just serves an incredibly different student population, so it's middle, upper class, and I am considered low income, and so at times that kind of felt alienating. And there's this kind of manufactured sense of competition on that campus. The majors are really hard to get into on that campus. Computer science, I don't even know what the percent is, but it's definitely below like 5 or something, But I think all of those things eventually drew me out, and I wanted to attend somewhere where I felt like the campus wanted all students to win. They wanted all students to be a part of this collective community. And I was born and raised in Tacoma, and so what I thought of right away was UW Tacoma. I didn't really grow up hearing that much about UW Tacoma, but I wanted to stay at UW, and Tacoma was the next best option for me after that. And I do not regret it. It was probably the best decision of my academic journey.
Well, you used a really nice phrase that I'm about to steal your phrase, but wanted all students to win. When we talk about wildly successful, I think that's something that we'll actually hold on to. So I'm going to steal your phrase. I have one final question for you guys, and I want you to hit it as well as you can, but we just have a couple of time constraints. And this ties into some of the stuff you've been saying, Jacob. So what has been the most successful or most useful support that you've received as whether a first-time college student, whether a transfer student, or an international student. What's been the most useful support you've received here at UW-Tacoma, and where do you feel that UW-Tacoma might be able to improve or push the noodle just a little bit?
Well, I think for me, there's two things. I think one, the relationships I have with faculty has been incredibly helpful for my time here. Again, UW Seattle, no beef, but UW Seattle, you just don't get that relationship with your professors, especially early on in your majors and stuff. But here, I have really deep relationships with my professors, and they've sort of been my mentors here alongside my advisors and a bunch of the administration. But I think another thing, and it's not because I work for the office, but First Gen, shout out First Gen. It's been incredibly helpful for me in finding my place here at UW-Tacoma. It just gets you familiar with all the other departments and hooks you up with people you don't even know who work on campus. And free food and money is always a good thing. So yeah, First Gen and the faculty here. So.
Deal. Thanks.
What was your question again?
What's been the most useful support you've had? As a transfer student, as a first-gen student?
That's a tough one. There's been so many, it's too hard to pick. I would say some of the most useful support, again, like he said, the relationship with the faculty. I had a really great accounting professor that kind of pushed me to do more, be more involved in my education. I would say the tutoring center has also been some great support. I've been able to get a lot of math help there, which has been good.
Tell us more. I'm just joking.
Also, yeah, being able to work there on campus has also been a great opportunity. Also the Veterans Resource Center, they've also provided some great help in helping me transfer my GI Bill from my dad to me and being able to use his GI Bill here to attend college. Yeah.
Right, so I have to add on to that for the Teaching and Learning Center. That's been definitely a valuable support system here. And even in community college, the TLC or the teaching center, tutoring center there at Pierce is pretty good. That sort of support system isn't something I came into the United States being familiar with. Tutoring typically outside the United States you have to pay for it or find a tutor. That was more the thing. It's private. So having that as a part, this is free. I can ask people for help, like that, just like that. Drop in anytime. Amazing. Like wow. Okay. So that was really nice. It's been really nice. Something I've tried to use as much as possible throughout my academic journey. In addition to that, I would say the International Student Office. So I actually work at the Office of Global Affairs, and I help connect international students with domestic students. And building that aspect of building community has bridged a lot of cultural barriers and also helped me to form connections and relationships with people. People all over Tacoma, including faculty, overall, just that as a support system, having that, and being able to ask questions about the visa, immigration process, all of that, what happens after college, just having that system, a person you can talk to, people you can talk to, and an environment where you're connected to those that are going through something similar to what you're going through. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
For me specifically, I'd like to think the Milgard Success Center has really done a lot of help for me. I mean, I know there's probably a generic Success Center as well, but assuming there's not. Now, just from like high school, I guess, it kind of always felt like as a student there, they were just like trying to get you out of there as quickly as possible. Like, just please graduate, get your credits, get out. But like here, I feel like there's more of a emphasis on like finding where you're gonna go next, right? Like it's not just a job, you might want an internship, you might want to go further on in your education, but like the opportunity and like the networking events and stuff like that really did play like a big role in like my ideas of like what I want to do when I'm out of here, right? Or like what do I want to do right now? And like specifically things like LinkedIn. I mean, I didn't know what that was last week. I just went to a class about that. I know, it's a lot.
Excellent.
So now I'm learning how to connect with people and like find a job. I know it's a lot, and like really I'm feeling more like I'm becoming more like professional like later on.
Excellent.
Hello again. Support system wise, I think I got to shout out. There's this one office on campus that always has my heart, and it's the reason why I'm here. Shout out to the Office of Financial Aid. Because they're paying for my tuition. I gotta go off of like what Jacob said. It's the connections from with students and faculty, because I'm pretty sure you remember this, Dwayne. When I came here as a transfer student, I stayed in the TLC till like midnight. And this is pre-COVID. And that's where I learned that I love like studying with friends, like creating community, is also like tutoring. And then COVID happened. But just the connections with the students and faculty is what I put at like the top, because it's always making me like, oh, okay, there's like no hierarchical system. It's just like me as a student, like, and I'm getting mentored by those who know more than me. And that's probably the one thing I wanted to get from a college experience, is a mentor. Somebody who does know the resources, somebody who knows the ins and outs. From a student to now being a student worker, I don't know how the politics is. Please, I don't want to know about that. But yeah, just overall networking, like how Jaden said. Yeah, are there more networking events? Can we have like a major?
There are more. Yeah, but actually, I'm going to actually have to stop you guys right at question 3 when I have 7 questions for you guys. So, would you all just be able to give our panel thanks? Thank you guys very, very much. And make sure to see me after, because we want to thank you guys even more.
What do I give the microphone to?
Okay, so we had thought we would end this panel, and of course we stuffed it full of wonderful things, and I hope that you all join me in just thanking the students again for their honesty, their perspectives. Thank you very much. And so we do have an opportunity to get involved in multiple ways. So again, we will send these slides out. Bonnie and I were just touching base about maybe taking more time and explaining the slides we had earlier and splicing it into the video later so that it won't be as rushed. But if you would like to read the task force report from last year, there's a QR code and a link. If you would like to get involved with one of these breakout groups or one of these working groups that is going to be specifically supporting these strategies, which frankly have some false barriers between them. These are all interconnected strategies, and so a lot of high collaboration between them. And we are really interested in how we can do this in good partnership with faculty governance. And so for faculty as well, we do have an anonymous feedback survey if you would like to give us your ideas about how you think that we can do that with transparency and authenticity. And with that, I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank our national speakers. And let's move the noodle, people. Let's move it.